FundStrat's Tom Lee is here. He is breaking down what that is at the Plasma. Tom, give the crypto investors something to feel good about right now.
Well, I think one of the ways to see how the crypto market's reacting to the news is to look at dominance, the cryptocurrency share of the overall market. And I want to focus on Bitcoin. For many years, it was the only game in town, and you can see at the start of 2017, it was 80% of crypto market. But in 2017, that number actually fell. And that fell to 37%. That's because last year we had ICOs and a lot of new projects and people got very excited. And I think a lot of folks thought this is how the year would play out, that the dominance would fall. But instead, Bitcoin's dominance has actually been creeping up. In fact, in the last couple of weeks, it's actually soared to the highest level all year, and it's at about 48%. So it tells us that the news that we've seen from the SEC saying Bitcoin's a commodity to ICE's announcement and the potential for an ETF is causing investors to decide that Bitcoin is the best house in a tough neighborhood. And so I think Bitcoin dominance is actually showing the market is reacting to what's been taking place.
The misery index.
Yes.
First off, I know you've talked about it before. Quick refresher. What is it and what's it looking like right now?
Yeah, the Bitcoin Misery Index measures what we expect a holder of Bitcoin to be feeling. So it's generally a contrarian indicator when the number is low. So the number is low means people are miserable, and below 27 means people are so miserable that historically Bitcoin does quite well. And when it's high, above 67, it means people are euphoric, and generally that's a time to sell Bitcoin.
Okay, and so where it is right now is...
It's at 39.
39.
So it's recovered.
We're not totally dismal.
That's right, but it's been creeping up, and I think that's the case. I think Bitcoin isn't broken if it's holding at these levels. I think the fear in people's minds is that, it goes back to below 6,000, and all of a sudden it feels like Bitcoin's going to never pull out of this bear market.
And Tom, we've had drawdowns, right? In 11 and 13 and 15, 75%, 80%, 90%. This was just in line with those other three drawdowns. Do you think it's different this time, or do you think this is just like those other drawdowns every 2 to 3 years?
Carter, I do think it's in line with other previous sort of bear retracements. Bitcoin's just much bigger now, so it is much more dependent on new fiat inflows. And so, I think in some ways, we have to think about how is someone either in Asia, because that's where a lot of the new money comes from, or who's a traditional investor going to feel willing to buy Bitcoin. And I think, these announcements we're seeing are positive, but in some ways, Bitcoin's a show me token right now. It's like Missouri.
Does it show you how crowded it is? I mean, you think about the trickle-down effect and all the people that made so much money buying Bitcoin early, watching it go to 17,000, selling some out to fund other ICOs or other sort of coins. You look at it now, and they're much less apt to do that, of course, but does that give you an indication of how crowded, right, the investment class is right now, meaning that it's concentrated between, a 5% of the total ownership?
Well, it shows you that right now crypto is pretty much Peter paying Paul, right? The market's just moving within itself, but there's about 50 million crypto wallets. If you look at it from an internet lens, that's 1994, because that's about when there were 30 million internet users, and internet users now is about 4.5 billion. I think crypto wallets are going to be sort of matching internet's trajectory, so it's early.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we need to get that one big hurdle, don't we, Tom? We need to get that the blessing, somebody to come out and anoint it.
Well, there's two hurdles. There's, effectively...
Well, there's three, as we talked about, but I'm saying we need custody. One of those three.
Custody seems to be the most important thing. I think that's really what's holding up. Yes, absolutely.
No doubt.
Then the SEC gets on board.
I mean, I think ICE is solving the custody issue, but, the reality is, in Asia, nobody really knows who ICE is. And I think if you're a traditional hedge fund, you know what happened with the futures market, so maybe you're worried about ICE and you want to see how it happens in November.